It is Monday morning. Amir has been a program manager for 6 years. He knows how this organization works. Every hour tracked, every piece of work filed under a project number. At 9:15, his manager asks him to step into two new initiatives: a product setup and a strategic integration. Both need someone experienced. Both need structure. Amir opens the project management system. The billing code field is empty. Neither initiative is formally funded. In the language of the measurement system, they do not officially exist. And here is the thought that runs through his head, the one he is almost embarrassed to admit having. If I cannot bill for it, does it count? He sits with that. Then a second thought arrives, quieter. If I do not step in, what actually happens to these initiatives? Two questions. Two completely different ways of looking at the same moment. The first from 6 years of accountability training. The second from somewhere deeper, from capability, from conscience, from the part of him that knows where the problems are. Neither question was wrong. But the choice between them and how to hold both at once is what this episode is about. Welcome back to The Catalyst. This is episode 5. The billability system was not designed to be unfair. It was designed to solve a real problem. In large organizations, especially consulting firms and project-driven enterprises, you need a way to track time, allocate costs, and measure productivity at scale. For what it was designed to do, it works well. But Peter Drucker observed this decades ago, and it remains true today. What gets measured gets managed. And the shadow side is equally true. What does not get measured does not get managed. Over time, it does not get valued, funded, or even noticed. The billing system captures direct output perfectly, but it is structurally blind to what researchers call enabling contribution, the work that makes other work possible. The senior PM who unblocks a junior team stuck on a dependency. The program manager who builds a shared framework that 3 teams immediately adopt. The experienced lead who transfers knowledge in 45 minutes that would have taken the organization weeks to rediscover. McKinsey found that knowledge workers spend 19% of their week on coordination and communication activities that almost never appear in formal measurement systems. Deloitte found that 83% of executives were not confident their performance systems captured the full range of employee contribution. The measurement gap is not a small problem. It is systemic. So what is happening inside Amir when he stares at that empty field? Daniel Pink's research describes 2 motivational systems. Extrinsic motivation asks, what will I get for doing this? Intrinsic motivation asks, what does this work mean to me? For complex, cognitively demanding work, precisely the work project managers do, extrinsic motivation alone produces lower quality outcomes. The person driven purely by metrics meets the metrics. The person driven by genuine purpose solves the actual problem. Psychologists Dacey and Ryan identified 3 fundamental human needs that produce genuine motivation: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Amir is being asked to choose, not ordered, to bring his skills to something that genuinely needs them. That is all 3 needs in one moment. The 2 questions he asks himself map directly onto these systems. The first, if I cannot bill for it, does it count? Comes from the extrinsic system. Protective. Accountability focused. Entirely reasonable. The second, if I do not step in, what happens? Comes from the intrinsic system. Generative. Possibility focused. Equally reasonable. The insight at the heart of this episode. These two streams are not rivals. They are partners in mature professional thinking. The mistake is not asking the first question. The mistake is only asking the first question. The skill that distinguishes experienced leaders is holding both simultaneously and deciding from the integration of both. When structured measurement systems consistently fail to value enabling work, 3 organizational costs accumulate, quietly at first, then quite suddenly. The first is the innovation gap. Innovation almost never begins as a funded billable project. It begins as someone's curiosity, a willingness to explore an idea before it has a budget line. Gmail, Google News, and AdSense all started as unbillable exploration during Google's 20% time. In a purely billability-driven culture, none would have survived their first week. The second is middle management burnout. Gallup's 2023 State of the Global Workplace found that middle managers are the most disengaged employee group, more than frontline workers, more than senior leaders. Harvard Business Review found middle manager attrition had increased 35% since 2019. The common thread: a persistent gap between the work people are doing and the work the organization officially recognizes. Contribution that is genuinely valuable but consistently invisible becomes demoralizing. Demoralized people eventually leave. The third is the strategic execution gap. Most organizations have strategies that never materialize into funded projects, because the early stage translation of a strategic idea into something real requires exactly the kind of unbillable work that measurement systems discourage. The people best positioned to do it are too focused on their billability to take it on. The strategy sits in a slide deck, while everyone waits for someone to make it real. Let me share 3 stories of what purposeful contribution beyond the billing code can actually produce. In the 1970s, 3M allowed engineers to spend 15% of their time on self-directed projects. No budget, no guaranteed outcome, no billing code. Art Fry used his 15% time to solve a problem he noticed in church. His bookmark kept falling out of his hymn book. He recalled a colleague's failed adhesive, glue not sticky enough to be permanent. He combined the 2 ideas. The result was the Post-it note, one of 3M's most commercially successful products in history. That work could not have been billed to anything, and it became one of the most recognized office products ever made. Nadia is a composite based on a pattern I have seen repeatedly. A senior project manager, she notices 3 separate teams solving the same dependency management problem independently, each building their own workaround, each burning time. There is no budget. No one has asked her to fix it. Over 4 weeks, in the margins of her billable time, she builds a lightweight shared framework and runs 3 cross-team alignment sessions. 6 months later, delivery quality on complex programs has measurably improved. The framework becomes standard practice. Her billability in those 4 weeks was below target. Her impact on the organization was among the highest of her career. Indra Nooyi joined PepsiCo as head of strategy in 1994. Not asked to redesign the portfolio, but she saw something outside her formal scope: a heavy concentration in high-sugar, high-fat products at the start of a long structural shift in consumer health. Alongside her defined role, not instead of it, she began developing a framework she called Performance with Purpose. That initiative, begun as purposive work beyond her assigned brief, became central to her ascent to CEO in 2006. The work that defines a career is rarely the work that was assigned. It is almost always the work that was chosen. But strategic discretion is not the same as saying yes to everything. That path leads to overload, not leadership. Before taking on significant non-billable work, ask 5 questions. First, is there something here only I, or someone with my specific experience, can enable? If anyone could do it, the calculation changes. Second, will this create something concrete and attributable? A framework, a decision, a process that I can point to later? Invisible effort producing invisible outcomes is a different calculation entirely. Third, is this time-bounded? Does it have a clear beginning, middle, and end? Open-ended commitments in unbillable space are the primary mechanism of mid-manager overload. Fourth, does doing this expand or contract my strategic options? Will it build relationships and capability that open future doors, or consume capacity I need for work that does? Fifth, and hardest, is the organization asking me because I am the right person, or because I am the available person? If it is the latter, the right response may be helping find the right person rather than absorbing the work yourself. That is not unhelpfulness. That is organizational clarity. If you decide the work is worth doing and you step in and deliver, make it visible. Not in a self-promotional way. In a professional way that is genuinely useful. The simplest method, a brief written update. When you complete significant enabling work, send your manager 3 lines. What you did, what it unblocked, what comes next. 5 minutes. A documented trail of contribution that would otherwise not exist. The second, outcome attribution. When the work you enabled produces a visible result, connect the dots. Briefly, 1 sentence that transforms invisible effort into citable contribution. The third, the forward brief. Before you begin, send a short note. I am planning to invest time in this because I believe it will unblock that. Does that align with your priorities? This transforms invisible work into sanctioned work before you start. 6 principles to carry from this episode. Both streams are valid. Ask the calculative question and the purposive question. Decide from the integration of both. Value is not the same as visibility. The most important work you do may be the least visible. Invest in making it visible. Visibility is a learnable skill. Strategic discretion requires boundaries. Use the 5 questions. Saying yes when it genuinely serves you and the organization is leadership. Being unable to say no is not. Time-bound or not at all. If you cannot define what done looks like, have that conversation before you say yes. Advocate for proper resourcing when enabling work becomes a pattern. Naming that blind spot constructively is itself a strategic contribution. And finally, the work that defines you is the work you choose. Your assigned work defines your role. The work you choose beyond it defines your career trajectory. Keep choosing deliberately. Here is your reflection for this week. Think about the last time you were asked to do something without a billing code. What did you decide? And did you decide consciously, with clear criteria, or by habit, by pressure, or by default? That question is the beginning of strategic discretion. Coming up next on The Catalyst, we continue building a toolkit for professionals who want to lead more deliberately, contribute more meaningfully, and navigate their careers with greater clarity. Stay with us.